This is Schooled by Gru, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month 2023, and this is a special episode where I share some personal perspectives about inclusion, safety, and being able to enjoy gaming spaces to their fullest. Like millions of people in Canada and the US, I suffer from anxiety and depression. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and panic disorder many years ago. And it's something that I have to live with, manage, and maintain. It's incredibly difficult often to navigate complex situations such as the one we're going through right now with the pandemic. I have a lot of issues with racing thoughts and busy brain issues, and it makes it really, really hard to cope on a daily basis. At the same time, I also live with disability. I have some health challenges that makes it hard for me to expose myself to large group settings. I have serious respiratory issues and osteoarthritis, as well as a number of other health challenges that really limits my ability to access public spaces, particularly right now when mask mandates have been dropped. More than 267,000 people died in the US of COVID last year. This is only marginally different than the 350,000 that died the preceding year. The challenge we have is the pandemic is still ongoing. Hundreds of people die of COVID every day, and it continues to be a leading cause of death in both Canada and the US. Disability advocates have shared that this is the loneliest year of the pandemic yet, 2023. For a lot of folks with disability, like me, this has felt very, very isolating and alienating. And I want to speak from the heart here. It is very, very difficult as a person with a disability, with comorbidities that make my life much more difficult to navigate during a pandemic, during a respiratory, airborne pandemic, to access some of the things that used to be a source of comfort and ability to de-stress, like a gaming space. I don't have access to that now, particularly because there is not a lot of discourse about air filtration, air cleaning, and making spaces safe for people like me with disability in particularly gaming spaces. As I've shared in other episodes, I had a lot of interesting perspectives about how folks felt out of place in some gaming spaces. I unfortunately have had to absent myself from most gaming spaces because I am fearful for my health. Often the gaming spaces that I have access to are rather airless affairs in industrial parks, and no one is wearing masks. So I simply cannot travel to any gaming store that I used to love because there's often a lack of safety. And so people with disabilities don't have access to these spaces right now. This is a quote that I got during the course of my PhD research that really means a lot to me, and I think about it often. This individual shared with me that they've been in board gaming a long time, and while there are times they won't say things because they don't want to draw attention to themselves, they absolutely refuse to leave the room. Sometimes that's the only activism we have. And that is something that I've thought a lot about. Sometimes it's a brave act just to stay in rooms where you're uncomfortable. But unfortunately for people like myself with disability, we have had to absent ourselves from many play and gaming stores and spaces because there is a lack of safety, a lack of air cleaning, a lack of mask adherence, and it just makes it impossible for us to stay in the room or even access that room. So I'm speaking from the heart this episode, sharing my personal experience as a person with disability in gaming. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. And thanks so much for listening to this personal episode. Thanks for listening to this personal episode of our Family Plays Games Voices, Schooled by Gru, where May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I share my perspectives as a person who struggles with mental health issues and disability, and how this year has felt particularly isolating. I really appreciate you listening. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much, and have a great day.